Firesword, Chapter 33. A Lady's Guard. A week had passed since the battle against Priam and his men, and things on the ship were relatively quiet. The only real disturbance came about when Gaius found out that his candy stash was running low, and he started having something akin to a panic attack. He ran around muttering gibberish to anyone that came within earshot of him, and after a couple hours of this, it was grating on Chrom's nerves. "Can someone shut him up?" he muttered as the orange-haired thief walked away from him. "That's what happens when he runs out of sugar?" Argo snorted.
Y'all had me thinking something worse was going to go down.
"He hasn't run out yet," Robin sighed. "This isn't even close to what comes after he actually runs out." "Why doesn't he just ration his supply?" Kirito asked. It was him, the leaders of the shepherds, Asuna and Argo, leaning on the railing of their ship. "I don't know," Robin shrugged. "Maybe it's like his opium. You can't suddenly decrease your intake without having some kind of repercussion." "At least we're stopping at an inhabited island soon," Chrom sighed. "Hopefully they have a market where we can purchase some sweets for him." "Want me to scout the place?" Kirito asked his captain. "I'm itching for something to do. It's been pretty quiet, and no one's been in the mood for a sparring match lately. Not even Lunku." "Are you actually wanting something to do, or are you just avoiding Mataris?" Robin asked with a raised eyebrow. "Kid tried to kill me," Kirito said sourly. "Sorry if I'm not exactly comfortable being around him." "He's interesting to talk to, if nothing else." Argo grinned. "Hardly ever smiles, though, and when he does, it's only for Yui. He adores that little girl." "I'm still not sure that assigning her to guard him was the best idea." Asuna frowned as she looked over at Chrom and Robin. She was referring to the fact that although Mataris had been allowed to accompany them, he was being kept under 24-hour surveillance. The blue-haired man shrugged and said she was the only one that seemed to want to do it, and he stays pretty calm with her around, so it seemed like a good idea. "If you say so," she sighed. "I still can't believe that our kid turned out so messed up." "He's not ours," Kirito scowled. "That's like saying that Marth and Morgan aren't my children." Robin frowned. I mean, granted their problems are pretty different, and Mataris's might be more severe, hard as that is to believe, but that's no reason to disown him. Your kids didn't try to kill you when they first came to this timeline," Kirito said with a little heat. "Maybe, but the fact that they didn't recognize their mother stung more than a little." Robin's tossed back. "Like I said, look, Robin, you're a good friend and all that, but this is something that Kirito and I need to deal with on our own." Asuna interjected sadly. "And to be honest, I'm not really even sure that we can call Mataris our son." "Then you can't claim me as your daughter," a small voice said, startling the group. The adults all turned to see Yui floating on her wings next to Mataris, whose gaze was set like flint. "Yui, your brother has more of a claim to being your son than I do being your daughter," she said bitterly, interrupting Asuna. Her face was clearly angry more than anything, but there was also a great sadness there. "At least he shares your blood. I can't even claim that much." "Yui, how we feel about Mataris has nothing to do with—" "Yes, it does," the Black Spirit snapped. "You're not involved in this," Kirito scowled. "I'm feeling pretty involved." The boy shot back angrily. "You may not want to be my parents, but I still want to be Yui's brother. And if you're so wrapped up in your disappointment that you can't see that you're hurting her, you're not fit to be parents in the first place." "Brother, please stop," Yui said as she placed a calming hand on his shoulder, keeping him from advancing on Kirito. She wiped at her eyes as she said, "You're hurting them too." He scowled deeply, but said nothing in response, earning him a raised eyebrow from Chrom and Robin. Can Yui really calm him down like that? Robin wondered. Or is he just putting on a show? "Yui, come here, please," Asuna said while she reached out a slender hand. "I think you've been on guard duty long enough. I'll take over if you—" "No." Yui sniffed as she shook her head adamantly. "You won't give him a chance like I have. Not yet, anyway. You're just too mad about him hurting Daddy." "And she has a right to be," Kirito said as he returned Mataris' scowl. "He's crazy and dangerous, Yui. Who knows whether or not what he's told you is the truth?" "I can just tell. The same way I knew that Yulier was telling the truth about Thinker back in old Aincrad," Yui answered. "You trusted me then. Why not now?" "Because this is much different," Kirito said, aghast that his daughter was even taking a side in this conflict. He's my little brother," she said quietly. "I have to protect him since you won't, Daddy." "Protect him from what?" Kirito asked wildly. "From whatever could hurt him," she said solemnly, her gray eyes reflecting the same seriousness of the Black Swordsman's for a moment. "And that includes you, Daddy. I love you, but I love him too. And I just can't stand by while you hurt him like this." "He doesn't care what I think," Kirito growled. "Yui, what are you—" "Is that what he said or what his actions say?" Yui sniffed, still wiping at her eyes. "Honey, his actions have shown that he's in an unstable mind frame right now," Asuna said, trying to be more reasonable than her husband. "I want to believe him, but it might take time to—" "Your Majesty!" Donald's voice came out. called out. We got trouble. What is it, Donnie? Robin asked as the youth came running up, looking out of breath. Lady Cordelia says that island up ahead's got trouble stirring up, he responded sharply. Nasty-looking cult folks are sizing up a little village. Miss Cynthia went ahead to scout it while Mrs. Cordelia came back. What do their defenses look like? Mataris asked, hovering a few feet closer. Donald looked up at him with surprise for a second before looking back at Robin with a question in his eyes. It's okay, Donnie. I would have asked the same thing, Robin said. You stay out of shepherd business, Kirito snapped. Mataris simply raised an eyebrow and smirked a bit as he fell quiet. They only got 2 fighters, sir, Donald told Robin. Lady Cordelia says it's a real little place. The fighters are a big man with an axe and a lady with a hammer. They look real tough, but I don't know how long they can hold off damn Grimleal. Asuna, Argo, and Kirito all jerked up with surprise at the second part of Donald's report. Wait. The man with the axe and the girl with the hammer, Kirito said quickly. Was the man dark-skinned? Yeah. Donald nodded immediately. Wait, how'd you know? For the first time in a few days, Kirito smiled broadly. I think things just took a turn for the better, he said. That's gotta be Agiel and Liz, Asuna said excitedly. Wait, you mean the Mountain Slayer? Mataris said with a cocked head. Sir Agiel, the Thunder Lion. What now? Argo asked him. Mataris shrugged in response. In my future, he was known by many names, and his reputation with an axe was said to frighten even the risen. I told you to butt out, Kirito said while pointing down the deck of the ship. Bite me. Mataris shot back. Brother, Yui said a bit tersely. Hey, I got an idea, he muttered in response. How about instead of arguing whether or not I should be here, we focus on saving a helpless village? We? Chrom looked up at him sharply. You're not cleared for combat with us, kid. Hey, your harness? Mataris said, his expression going flat. All of you. Everyone hesitantly turned to give him their full attention. When he was sure he had it, he sucker-punched Kirito in the gut hard enough to send him sprawling across the deck. What the hell? Asuna shouted as her own white wings flashed open. Yui just looked at him in shock, a loss for words. What was he up to? Catch me if you think you can, he grinned evilly. Before Yui could stop him, he shot off at maximum velocity, a shockwave left in his wake. Get back here, Kirito groaned. Damn him, you got me in the same spot as last time. I'll get him, Yui said as she prepared to take off after him. I'm going with you, Asuna said as she floated beside her daughter. Argo, look after Kirito, okay? And send the others after us. No telling what Mataris is planning. It'll cost you. She smirked as the pair flew off after the crazed Paradox child. Andrew scowled at the slow-moving group that was approaching from the mountainside. I don't like this, he muttered. Those guys are giving me a bad vibe. Yeah, and the lady in the infirmary was acting extra skittish. His comrade, Rika, said with a frown of her own. Think they had something to do with her condition? I don't know. Andrew shrugged as he unlimbered his double-sided axe from his back. All I know is, if they want to throw down, my axe skills are still in good practice. How's that axe, by the way? Elizabeth asked. Not bad, but I miss my SAO gear, you know, he answered. Yeah, I know the feeling, Elizabeth nodded. Sucks not actually knowing how to make weapons after all that time I spent developing the skill to forge them. Andrew looked like he was about to say more, but then a new element entered the picture. Cynthia the Heroic is here! No need to fear! A young, cheery voice called down just before a young girl riding a Pegasus dropped out of the sky to land in front of the 2 surprised fighters. What? Rika blinked. Hi! The young girl waved energetically. I'm Cynthia, and I'm here to help out with those bad guys over there. She pointed at the advancing figures, all of which were dressed in black and red robes. Wait, you're with them? Andrew cocked his head. No, I meant that I'm here to fight them. Cynthia shook her head and reddened a bit. Jeez, that came out wrong. Well? Rika cocked her head with worry at the teenager. Aren't you kind of young to be fighting creeps like them? Nope, she grinned. Been doing it most of my life. Rika blinked in surprise at her cheery disposition, despite the circumstances facing her. Wow, she murmured. What's up? Cynthia asked. Nothing, just feeling nostalgic, she said as she shook her head. Huh? The other girl wondered. Don't worry about it. Andrew shook his head. Name's Agiel. You got any pals that can help us out, kid? Oh, yeah, Cynthia nodded. She pointed out to sea and said, See that ship? When they nodded that they could, she said, My dad and his friends are on it, and they're coming to help. Hey, am I the only one seeing this? Rika blinked in surprise. Are there a couple of people flying toward us on wings? Yeah, I see them too. Andrew said, Something about them seems familiar. Yeah, they should, a young voice said from behind them. When the trio turned around, however, there was no one there. Up here. The gazes went up to the rooftop, whereupon Rika's jaw dropped and Andrew's eyes widened considerably. Standing atop the roof was a boy dressed in black with long, dark hair that covered part of his face. He was armed with a single sword that was strapped over his left shoulder, and a set of black spring wings that floated gently in the breeze. He raised a finger to his brow and gave them a small salute as he said, "Good passing to you." Kirito? Rika asked in shock. He looked very different than when they had last met, she thought, but there were a number of similarities that made it unmistakable that it was him. The way he carried himself, the sword on his back, the jet black hair, the dark eyes and small mouth. Sorry to disappoint, but the black swordsman isn't here yet. The boy shook his head. For now, I'll serve as his representative.
Representative?
Cynthia sputtered.
You're supposed to be confined to your room. This is insubordination.
Oh? Matar smirked. I wasn't aware that I was confined to quarters anymore. As long as I have a supervisor from the shepherd's ranks, I'm free to go where I please. Looks like you just landed guard duty, Cynthia. Hey, what's going on here? Andrew demanded. We got creepy cult guys coming at us, a Spritigan looks like Kirito, and a girl flying around on a Pegasus. What the hell is all this?
I think we might be able to explain,
said a familiar feminine voice. They all turned to see Asuna descending with Yui in tow. The little girl immediately flew over to Matar's side and began speaking in a low voice into his ear. While he nodded his understanding, Asuna turned to Rika and smiled a bit. Hey, Liz, she said as she held open her arms. Long time no see, huh? Asuna! The girl cried happily as she went in for a hug. I'm so glad you're here. Hey, not to be that guy, but can we have the reunion later? Andrew said as he pointed at the advancing cultists. I think we're about to have some trouble.
Actually, trouble's coming to them.
A cheery voice called down. Yuki and Aiko landed beside their comrades, whereupon Andrew and Rika's eyes widened even more.
Hey there, Agil.
Yuki waved.
How's it going, Liz?
What? Rika gasped.
Aren't you?
We were, but long story. Aiko said, waving the matter aside. Right now, we need to focus on those guys over there. She pointed her sword at the Grimleals. Why are they here? Last time they came, it was just 3 of them, Andrew said, deciding to hold off on his questions for later. They tried to take a lady from the village. She's a real sweetheart, but it seems like she's got some kind of disability where she can barely talk. She also doesn't seem to remember much of anything, long-term or short. That's awful, Yui said sadly. Yeah, but get this, Rika said as she glowered at the advancing group. We think those guys might have done it to her. How do you know that? Asuna asked. We don't. Andrew shrugged. It's just a hunch based on some of the things she said over the last few weeks we've been here. Time to put the discussion on hold, Matara said sternly. Everyone was looking up at him, expecting a condescending look to be on his face, but instead his eyes were focused on the advancing group. His jaw was locked and his body tense. We need to focus on preventing them from getting their hands on their sacrifice.
Sacrifice?
Rika squeaked. It's not uncommon for those thugs to offer maidens up to their god as an offering. Mataris growled as he unsheathed his sword. Lady Yuki, are the others coming? Right here, said Kirito, who shot a glare at Mataris. You're lucky this is happening right now, or I'd have you court-martialed for what you did. Mataris scoffed. Can't handle some tough love, old man. Kirito ground his teeth.
Hey!
Rika waved excitedly. Kirito, it's good to see— Not now, Liz, he said sternly, stunning her and most of his friends. It's been one hell of a week. We'll do the reunion after we've dealt with this.
Sir Agil, Lady Elizabeth,
an elderly voice called out from behind them.
The young woman is—
He took one look at the floating fairies of Einkrad and Alfheim and threw up his hands in fear. Don't worry about them. They're friends of ours, Andrew said as he placed a huge hand on the man's shoulder. They're here to help us defend the place.
Are you sure?
He began in a quavering voice.
That one looks like a demon.
He pointed a shaking finger at Mataris, who shrugged in response. I've been called worse. Besides, old-timer, he grinned as he jerked a thumb at Yui. If I'm a demon, then here's your guardian angel. Hello, Yui said as she floated down gently on white wings. We don't want to hurt you, sir. We just want to help.
Oh,
he said, immediately put at ease by her innocent charm.
Well, in that case—
He turned to look at Andrew with renewed panic.
The lady has disappeared. She's gone from her room without a trace, sir.
What? Rika cried.
Why would she do that?
Perhaps to lead her captors away from us? The old man surmised. Seems like something she'd do, Andrew sighed. All right, guys, Kirito called out to gather his comrades' attention. We need to split up into 2 teams. One to find this lady, one to fight off the Grimleal. I'll try to find the lady. Leafa volunteered, her bluish hair swaying in the wind as she rose up on green wings. I'm the fastest flyer, so I can cover more ground. I'm going with you, Silica said. Pina is following with the other shepherds, but she'll be here soon, and she can help us search. Okay, anyone else? Kirito asked.
Me,
Cynthia grinned.
I can see it now. A heroic rescue from above.
I'm not much good in a fight yet, so I'll go search with them, Sachi said quietly. Okay, just be careful, the Black Swordsman said after a brief moment. Everyone else, standard battle positions. We're sending these creeps packing.
Be on the lookout for a young woman with a long blonde hair that walks with a limp,
The elder called out to the 4 volunteers.
If you're not certain it's her, look for a strange mark on her forehead. It looks like a horseshoe with a teardrop in the middle.
Kirito frowned at that. Something sounded very familiar, though he wasn't sure why. However, he knew that he had more important matters to attend to, so he refocused on the enemy advancement. Alright, you know your jobs, he called out. Chrom and Robin will be here in half an hour at the latest, and he's sending other flyers ahead of him. They'll be here any moment. Our objective is to defend the village at all costs, and great strategy meeting. Can we fight now? Mataris muttered impatiently. If you want to charge in there without a plan of attack, be my guest, Kirito shot back. I do have a plan. Attack! The Blackwing boy said as he shot up into the sky. Wait for me! Yui called out as she followed him. Yui, no! Kirito shouted as she started to go after them, only to be stopped by Asuna grabbing his ankle with surprising force to pull him back down. Asuna, what? She'll be fine, she promised him as she placed a cool hand on his cheek. He'll protect her no matter what. How do you know? He asked, looking back up at the sky where he could see dark energy beginning to gather. Whether it was the Grimleal or Mataris, he wasn't able to tell yet. The same way I knew you would beat SAO. Asuna smiled at her husband. I don't. I just have to have faith in him. Kirito stared into his wife's chestnut eyes for a long, long moment before he sighed and said, Alright guys, let's keep moving. Get those creeps away from here, and don't let anyone hurt if you can help it. You heard the man, Andrew said to the village elder. Get inside until we take care of these clowns. So, what's up with the wings? Rika asked Asuna as she drew her rapier. We'll tell you later, Asuna answered. We'll even get you your own. Awesome! Rika nodded as she hefted her mace. Good to see you back in action. Lightning flash. She winked at her best friend, who smiled back at her. We have come for the girl. A nasally voice called from within the ranks of the red-robed men. Stand aside, and no one else has to get hurt. We will even overlook the fact that you killed 3 of our own in a gesture of good faith. Go to hell, all of you! Mataris roared from above. Red! Darkness shot forth, causing the assembled cultists to scatter. Iyari! Yui called out, and a burst of light exploded in the midst of the biggest cluster of crimson robes. Shepherds, attack! Somewhere, among the trees of the island, a pair of pale green eyes stared out at the conflict. She knew not why, but seeing such ferocity in battle made her heart ache, and tears sprung to her eyes, blurring her vision. She clumsily wiped them away as she turned from the carnage. Why? She thought. Hurt. I bring hurt to the kind people. Tears still flowing, she resumed her journey to get away from the conflict. During the midst of the battle, Chrom and the others finally arrived in time to meet Agiel and Elizabeth, both of whom were standing back from the battle, as they were ill-equipped to fight mages and the like, and there were very few close-quarters soldiers in the ranks of their enemies. Hello, Chrom said in a friendly manner as he approached the pair. I take it that you know the warriors of Eincrad. The rest of the shepherds moved to join the fight as Robin and Chrom spoke to the potential recruits. Knew 'em? Andrew chuckled. We used to run with 'em. Would you like to do so again? Robin asked as he reached inside of his jacket and held out a pair of green marbles. Eat of these, and you will be restored in power like your friends. We swallow this, and just like that, we're fairies again, Rika asked. More or less. Robin shrugged as he continued to hold out the marbles. After only a moment's hesitation, each of the Sword Art Online survivors took a marble and popped it in their mouths, swallowing them like medicine. It took a few seconds, but then their wings appeared. Massive brown ones for Agiel, and sturdy gray ones for Elizabeth. "Aw, yeah!" Elizabeth grinned as she flexed her lean muscles. "I feel so much lighter now." "Now this is more like it." Agiel grinned. "Care to show us what you're capable of?" Robin asked as he drew his thunder tome. "Aw, hells yeah!" Elizabeth cackled. "Creepy cult guys, here we come!" As she and Robin charged off to join Lucina and her twin children, who were fighting side by side. Agiel, however, noticed something about Chrom, and he stopped him before he could charge ahead with the others. "Hey man, what's that on your shoulder?" he asked with a slight frown. "This?" Chrom said as he moved his brand into a better light so that Agiel could see. "This is the brand of the Exalt. It's a sacred mark exclusive only to my family." "Wait, what?" Agiel's eyes widened. "But then, who was she?" "Who is who?" Chrom asked, very confused. "The blonde lady we were trying to protect had a mark just like that one," Agiel said. Chrom froze even as his mind began to race. "It can't be," he thought as he paled. "Hey man, are you okay?" Agiel asked. "Is she related to you, maybe?" "That woman," Chrom said with a shaking voice. What was her name? Don't know. She was never able to tell us, Agiel answered. Her mind is kind of far off. She can't talk real well, and she can't seem to remember much. Her eyes, though, Chrom almost shouted. What color were they? Green, Agiel said with a slight frown. Are you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. I might be, Chrom said heavily, his sword nearly falling from his grip. Could it be M? Oh, man. Okay. I am so tired, guys. So, this last weekend, we were at the Duke City Comic-Con, which was a lot of fun. We got to sell some of our merchandise. We got to hang out with some of the voice actors from My Hero Academia, Dragon Ball, even Fairy Tail. There's one guy from like Naruto, and a couple others. I had a lot of fun with that. I just barely am gonna finish this video on time, and oh my goodness, I underestimated like how much energy doing a con takes, because you show up early to set up, you're on your feet all day, you know, trying to market yourself to the people that are walking around, and there's just no time for anything. And on top of that, I'm also taking care of my little girl, so I'm so tired, guys. But alright, I'll stop griping about how my weekend went and talk a little bit about the chapter that I just read. So, I felt like it wasn't, how do I put this? It was kind of an interim chapter. Like, things started to speed up action-wise toward the end, but I remember, like, thinking, okay, I've put off Agiel and Elizabeth entering for long enough. I need to get to that. And it had always been my plan for them to make their appearance while trying to protect Emran. And I think there's like one other member that like from the gang that has yet to appear in the series. I think Hiyori from the Sword Art Online Girls Off, she has yet to make her appearance. I don't think I went too much into her character in any case, but yeah, I remember I thought about just making this like getting the whole rescue done in one chapter, but I felt like that would be too much of an emotional charge to be happening, because, you know, if you already got Mataris and Yui, they're trying to repair their relationship. Mataris is making things difficult on his parents, and then, you know, Emran being alive, that's a whole nother situation to deal with. So I felt like it would have been better if I just, you know, split that a little bit. But yeah, that's kind of how I thought. That's kind of what I was thinking when I was doing the chapter. But I think that's it from me for this chapter. So be sure to like and subscribe, hit that bell icon so that way you know when each new video is coming out. Be sure to check out my gameplay videos, my Throwback Thursday Sonic Adventure DX series, as well as the Super Dragon Ball Heroes World Mission that I've been doing on Saturdays. I didn't do it this past Saturday because of the Comic-Con, but I'm having a lot of fun with both of those game series, and I hope that you guys will have fun watching them. Thanks so much for listening to me and my nostalgia here. So take care until the next time. Red Swordsman out.